Today, I'm very happy to have Nigar's drawing as our first example. Nigar, could you briefly talk about your drawings?
Yeah, absolutely. So I did ARC200 last year, and basically for this assignment, my thesis was essentially highlighting the cul-de-sacs and the variety that they have in each of the neighborhood that I was given. So I realized that there were different categories of cul-de-sacs. So some cul-de-sacs were surrounded by semi-detached houses, some were fully detached, and I just wanted to find this diversity of if they're surrounded by, if it's radial or if it's a grid system and how they work. And I had this like collage like panoramic view where the darker pink are essentially the detached and the medium pink are semi-detached, and then the super light ones are residential apartment buildings. And I just kind of wanted to highlight and emphasize the diversity each cul-de-sac has within my site. Yeah.
Mhm. Thank you, Nigar. And the second example, actually, I showed you last week, but uh, I'm gonna show you again. So basically, the student photographed the facade of the houses and labeled them in his site map, sorry, and gave each tab a tone according to his 2A. And the last example is my portfolio pages of ARC200. So my photo assignment is here. In my year, the requirement is different from this semester, so the content is different. I didn't focus on housing, but did something more like landscape. So you don't need to mind the content, just the arrangement I want to let you see. So I can zoom in a little bit here. So basically it's like this. Okay, so that's the examples. So generally my suggestions about the graphic representation on this assignment is, firstly, edit your photos, or maybe since this year we do ARC200 remotely, so maybe also Google Images. It will not only add to the sense of like uh, completion, but also cutting out the unnecessary parts and highlighting the important part can make your drawings stronger. And secondly, combine different drawing tabs. A photo assignment does not mean just photos. Think about like combining your line drawings with it, or you can also draw some diagrams to illustrate your ideas. And thirdly is um, think about the layout. Try to find an efficient way to compose your drawings. Okay, so today I'm gonna show you 5 basic tools, which is transform, clone stamp, selection, layer mask, and adjustment layers. And we're also gonna cover a little bit of the like the blending mode. Since there are many things I want to share, so this week we're gonna speed up a little bit, but anytime you feel it's too fast and you can't follow, just feel free to open your mic and ask me to stop and explain. Okay, so let's start. Let's use one house as example. Firstly, I'm gonna open it with Photoshop. So firstly, a good habit is always copy your original layer. So hold Control J, you can duplicate the layer and you can just unsync the first layer, sorry. Mm, Let me see. And another good habit is name your layers. Let's just call it house. Okay, so the first thing is if my focus is the elevation facade, and now this image is not orthogonal. So what I can do is click on this layer, press Ctrl P, and here is the first tool we're going to use is called the transform tool. So you can see there is a bounding box here. You can enlarge it, but this is not what we want. So now I'm gonna right click on this image. I can choose something from here, maybe perspective, and then I stretch this photo until my wall is parallel, right? So for now, I think it looks okay. I'll just click here. It's done. And also, if you wanna transform it, you can also like play around with all these options. Maybe distort is like, and maybe you can also skew it. Basically, skew is like you almost like you share it in Rhino. So try to play around them, and you can combine different ways of transform. That's the first tool. Actually, we can even make them like looks like asymmetrical in Photoshop, like what I did. Like this part, but I think it might be a little bit weird for 2D, so we're not gonna cover it today. After this, I may want to like clean up my photos. So if my focus is the facade, this tree is disturbing. So here I'm gonna introduce the second tool set, which is a spot healing brush tool. So for the spot healing, you can just zoom in and use it like a pen. Just draw it on the tree and it will somehow disappear. And also we can try to use a healing brush. So the difference is for the healing brush, you need to press Alt and you need to choose a source area. So I'm maybe choose here, and then you move your brush onto the tree and you left click it. And another way to remove the tree is patch tool. So for the patch tool, you draw a selection on the parts that you don't want and you just move it. Oh, sorry. You should move it within the patch tool. You just move it to a more clean area and it will, this Photoshop will do some calculation and like simulating a pattern to remove the tree. And also we can use the clone stamp tool. So basically the clone stamp is pretty much similar to the healing brush. But the only difference is let's just select the source area first. The only difference is after you selecting your source area, and when your mouse move, the source area will move like accordingly. So just so you see the pattern is not exactly same, but when I move my mouse here, the source area will move here. Okay. So these tools are actually super powerful. So this is an assignment I did in my first year based on these tools. So it looks like this. So I simply used all the tools to remove these boards and people and the telegraph poles. And okay, so let's assume we have faked all the parts that we don't want. And now I can cut out the house. So the third tool set is the selection tools. Basically, this, and that are selection tools. For the first tool set is like really simple. You can do a rectangular selection, and you can do a square selection if you move your mouse while you pressing the shift key, and you can press Ctrl D to deselect it. And the second tool set is, for example, the Lasso tool. Basically, this tool is similar to a pencil. You just draw your selection area with your mouse, and that's it. And this one is called polygonal lasso. I think this one is really handy when you are gonna select like some straight edges like here for the house. Let me just do it quickly. When you are about to close your selection, so you move it to near the point you started, and if there show a small circle, a small round circle here, and you left click it, then your selection is closed. And the next tool is called magnetic lasso. So this one is handy when you're gonna select something that has a clear edge, like has some clear edges, but it's not straight. Sorry, whatever is it. So, for example, here, if I'm gonna select the snow, so I just move my mouse along the edges of the snow, and it will automatically select along the boundary. So this is the snow. And the third toolset is also very useful. For example, let's do an object selection. So the object selection is like It's one of the new features of Photoshop 2020, and it's sometimes really quick. So for the object selection tool, we just need to draw a square, like draw a bounding box for the stuff you want to select, and that's it. It will automatically calculate the object and do some assumptions. So you can combine object selection and polygonal lasso. Just need to do some addition to it, and it's gonna save you some time. And also we have the quick selection tool. So quick selection is also like a paintbrush. You just move it around the area you want to select, and that's it. And for the magic wand tool, this tool is based on the similarity of the colors. So firstly, I'm going to introduce the sample size. The sample size is you can choose like point sample or maybe 3x3 average. Basically, it means how large the resource area is. I'm good with the point sample. And the tolerance. The range of the tolerance is between 1 to 255. Since in RGB mode, our color is defined by, okay, it's defined from maybe 0 to 255. So this is the tolerance range. And tolerance means the similarity tolerance. So if you put in 1, it will only select the exact same color with your point sample. So it's make a really small selection area. And if you put 255, it's gonna select all the area. And if you put some reasonable number in the middle, maybe 15, it will make a larger selection. Maybe 15 is too small, let's do 30. So if you are gonna select an object with a pure color, the magic wand tool is really handy. And here is several options. I want to introduce the logic of them. So this one is a new selection. If we are at this mode, basically you make a selection, and that's it, but done. And this one is add to selection. It's like if we already have one selection and we make a new selection, and these two selected area will join together. And this one is called subtract from selection. If we don't want this area anymore, we just use this mode to subtract it. And this one is a little bit more complex. It's called intersect. So basically, if you already have a selection here and you make a new selection here, and the result is the intersection of these two selected areas. So basically here. And also for the magic wand tool, we have a choice called sample all layers. When we're gonna use it is if we're gonna use, let's make a new layer here. So if we don't check sample all layers, I select everything. Why? Because this layer is empty. So every color, actually there's no color. Actually there's no color, and so everything is the exactly same to the source area, no, the point sample we selected. So I select everything on this layer. But if I check the sample all layers, if I check it, I click it. Okay, so even if my current layer is layer 1, I can still make my selection according to the layer below and also above as well. If we have some layer, visible layer above it. Let me see, is there any other thing? No. Okay, so basically these are the selection tool. And next thing, let me check is, okay, layer mask. So I'll just make a quick selection again. And my current layer, define the current layer here. Okay. The layer mask is handy when I'm not sure, like if for now, I want to cut out the sky and the house behind, but I'm not sure if maybe later I think I should keep it, or I just don't want to delete the other part of the images, but now I don't want to see them as well. So this time, the layer mask is very handy. So for the layer mask, I selected the part I want, and I go to the lower right corner. I choose Add Layer Mask. So I choose Add Layer Mask here. Okay, now all the unwanted parts are disappeared, but they are not actually disappeared, because if I disable the layer mask, just press Shift and click. They're back. And if I press Alt and click on the layer mask, we enter the layer mask mode. So the logic of the layer mask is if it's white, that area will be visible. If it is black, it won't be visible. And if it is like something in the middle, maybe let's do a gray. So it will be visible, but has some opacity. Let's go back and check. Okay. So the color in the middle look like this. And you can also make a gradient, so the image will be like some portion of it looks disappearing. Layer mask. Okay, so now we're gonna do something about highlight stuff in both Photoshop and Illustrator. Let's delete the layer mask. So the method to delete the layer mask is you just drag it to the dustbin, or you can right click it, just choose delete layer mask. Okay, now we're gonna firstly we're gonna highlight the house in Photoshop. I just still make a quick selection, but in your assignments you should like do your selections more accurate. So I make a quick selection. I add a new layer. I go to edit, here, stroke. Stroke your selection can create an outline of the object. So maybe I just do a 15 pixels line weight and make it outside. Okay, so this is my outline. What if, for example, I want to highlight all the house in pink? So I made a new layer here. I drag it under the outline and I just use the paint bucket tool. I just paint it. Okay, so here is the opacity. Maybe I can just don't do it 100. Now the house looks a little bit unclear. So what we can do is use the stuff here. So first I'm gonna deselect it and I can choose maybe multiply, maybe overlay or soft light, or maybe screen as well. So this mode will change the blending mode of this layer and do your highlight while preserve the pattern or the detail of your picture. And the next step is, okay, and we're gonna do the same thing in Illustrator. So I'm still gonna open it. Still this house. And I'm gonna fit it with my artboard. Okay. Firstly, we also create a new layer and you can use the pen tool here. Maybe I'll highlight the window part here. I just draw my selection and I can choose an outline, maybe some ugly purple. And I can choose a hatch, maybe light pink. And for now, I can't see the window, right? So I can click on it and adjust the opacity, maybe 20%. Okay, so now I've highlighted my window in pink. And let's go back to Photoshop. Mm, the final tool I'm gonna show you is adjustment layers. So remember this example? Wait, there, yes. So this student, he colored all his photos into tones. So what he did is firstly convert your image to grayscale. There are two ways to make it into, actually, yeah, let's just say two ways. Make it the grayscale. First way is press Control U, sorry, Control wait, Control Shift U. So this is a shortcut to make this effect. And also, if I don't feel like it, I can press Control Z to go back, and I can use the adjustment layer here. So basically, I click on this icon and I choose black and white. So in this adjustment layer, the good thing is I can adjust the portion of each color. For example, I want my sky be lighter, so I can make the cyan and the blues higher. Now my sky looks really light, really white actually. And what if, okay, what if now I'm good with this result? I can right click on it and I can merge it down. So here, merge down. Now the adjustment layer is merged in with our original image. And how can I colorize it? So there is another adjustment layer called hue and saturation. This one. So I can, if this is a image with color, I can play around with these sliders. Let's just do it here. Okay. Okay. I can do some really weird effects. I can maybe make it desaturated, make it lighter, make it. This is almost like a hanging house. Okay, but this is how it works. And go back to our question, how can we colonize it? So just open this layer and we choose colonize here. And now our image is colonized with this tone. And also, since we might have several layers here, what if I only want to this adjustment layer have the effect on the layer below? So what I can do is I hold Alt key and I click in the around here, just between these two layers. And now you can see a small arrow here. which means this layer only affect this layer. And if I want to delete it, I just drag it to the bin here. And what if, let me see, I can also use some levels. So what does levels means is I just simply play around it. So if I move this slider, the portion of the darker color will reduce. And if I move here, the lighter color will also reduce. And if I move this, it will affect the contrast of this image. So when you have time, you can play around these options. And also, I hope to introduce the brightness and contrast layer. So for this layer, it's really straightforward. So you can make your image looks brighter, and you can adjust the contrast level like this. And what else? Oh yeah, curves. So let's do curves for the image with color. So curves is also a really handy tool. You can adjust the color and brightness and the contrast all with this curve. And you can adjust the curve of a single color, red, green, or blue. So maybe I just wanna make it looks more reddish. This is so weird. You never want your photo assignment to be like this, because this color does not make sense at all. Okay. I think basically this is the content of today's workshop. Now if you